Hello all, this is Dswank. I am in real life, and before you can worry, you can see I'm not driving. However, my family is here and is loud and awkward, and I really don't want to record this while they're doing that ness. So, what I wanted, well, I'm answering the questions that people left on my 400 subscriber special. Woo! Patrick Wilkinson. What is your favorite science fiction franchise / show? Also, what is your favorite Sins mod? Shut up, phone. Okay, so, franchise, that's actually fairly easy. Babylon 5, but that's because Babylon 5 is my favorite TV show. If I wanted to, I could do a full hour-plus rant on science fiction shows. Thinking of that might be a good thing to do to bring up in the Space Engineers creative series, but to get a start on it, define science fiction. Somewhat difficult. When you think about it, is modern Doctor Who science fiction, or is it a drama? Because it's a lot more drama and a lot less science fiction, but it also started out as a kid's show, so Star Wars is not science fiction. It's fantasy with space wizards and laser swords. Heck, you have hairy man-beast using a bow. Oh, granted, it's a crossbow, but it shoots laser bolts. And you have, instead of elephants carrying orcs, you have mechanical elephants carrying snow troopers in a snow planet. It is a kind of modern fantasy set with advanced technology. You have races that are not human, that are very fantasy-like in their creation. They take a lot. It takes a lot more of the fantasy tropes than it does the sci-fi tropes. Star Trek. Well, Star Trek would be higher on my ranking, except for what J.J. Binks has done to the Star Trek universe. And having seen the trailer, God, that's painful, for the new Star Trek, and then reading all the things behind it, all the problems that they've had, I'm not happy with it. I hope it's good. I hope against hope it's good, but also you have the failures of CBS saying sci-fi doesn't have a place on broadcast television. Let's see. Do you define comic book movies as sci-fi? Because there's science in there, and is Guardians of the Galaxy a sci-fi movie? Science fiction, good science fiction, very rarely does the science be the star, but it has to be there. It has to have a prominent role. Where in Star Wars, I didn't feel like it had a prominent role. It just was I mean, the Force, the mysticism had more of a prominent role than the technology. Star Trek, the science has a much higher role. Babylon 5, the science is mentioned, it's discussed, the technology's discussed, there's things we don't understand, but it's not the primary thing. Diplomacy and the drama and things like that were the primary thing, with the science being added to it. I do consider Star Trek to be a higher level science fiction than Babylon 5. Farscape was interesting because it mixed sci-fi with mysticism almost equally. So I would still say Star Trek is higher on the ranks of hard sci-fi than that, but Farscape is good. Stargate is solid. Battlestar Galactica, the remake, is much more of a science drama because you have all this science motif going around, but it's not, because of the concept that it's a spaceship leading a ragtag fleet, you have innately more science in it than otherwise. But you could, if you really wanted to, you could rewrite Battlestar Galactica on the ocean on Earth. You just change the Cylons to a disease or whatever, what have you, because you have the Galactica being a aircraft carrier. Maybe not something like the Nimitz or something. Maybe something like the one of the British aircraft carriers. And then you have your fleet. You have a couple of cruise ships. You have an oil tanker. You have all these other ships that you bring in as your ragtag fleet, your support fleet, if you will. And it gets interesting when you think about it that way. So, you could do the same stories with what I pitched that you did with Battlestar Galactica. Some would be harder. Like, I have no idea how you would redo the battle at New Caprica with the scenario I pitched, and that's why I'm saying that it's a drama with sci-fi overtones. But yeah. Anyway, on to Sins of a Solar Empire, which is also a really good one. Also, in my discussion, I kind of ignored a lot of game franchises like the grim derp future of Warhammer 40k, where if you read any of the lore, you know the Imperium of Man is doomed. The man is doomed. It's the last millennium for man. If you read anything about it and know what's on Earth and what will happen when the last remains of the God Emperor passes away, humanity is doomed. Actually, everybody is doomed. Maybe not the Tyranids, but everybody else. Let's see. And I ignored Halo, but Halo is one of those... It's a solid game. It's nothing to write home about. Same with Mass Effect. I like the attention to detail with Mass Effect, but it's... I mean, it's good, but it kind of merges with a lot of other stuff and blends in. It doesn't stand out to me. So, especially because I see the Normandy as just a white star. But, yeah. I know The Expanse is out there. I haven't watched it. But anyway, back to Sins. Favorite Sins mod. That's a tough one because I liked, what was it? Sacrifice of Angels when it first came out. This was way back. I think Entrenchment had just come out. They had released the Federation, but it was the only faction, modded faction. So you had the Federation versus the Sins vanilla races, which I just love that concept. And one of the reasons why I love Interregnum. Interregnum's great. Warlords, because I followed Warlords over from Homeworld to Sins. I like that a lot. And it has the New Republic, which is one of my favorite factions, and the Yukazong Vong, which is a fun faction. And, let's see, I like Maelstrom, which adds new mechanics. I like, so it's really hard to pinpoint and say, there's one that I like more. If I just want to play for fun, it's gonna be Interregnum, just because I like the idea of Star Wars factions versus the vanilla factions, and they have a very well-developed story. If I want pleasant-looking interface and cool-looking interface and new mechanic concepts and things like that, Thrawn's Revenge is up there. So is Armada 3. So it's kind of hard for me to pin down one that I like more than the others. So, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for the question, or questions, and I will see you later. Until then, bye-bye.